Holding Bitcoin in your own company, is that actually possible? And what does it take to do that? You'll figure out everything related to this topic in that video. Let's get started. First of all, what are the advantages of actually holding Bitcoin in your company? And is it even possible? The simple answer is yes, you can hold Bitcoin in your company. You can hold it on your balance sheet. And there are actually 4 good reasons as to why a lot of publicly traded companies are doing so, and why other privately owned companies are following pursuit as well. Reason number 1 is the value potential of Bitcoin, and that lies in its core fundamentals. See, Bitcoin is scarce. There are 21 million coins, and there are built-in mechanisms to enhance that scarcity. Every 210,000 blocks, you have the halving, reducing the issued amount of Bitcoin per block if a miner finds one. And if you now have a scarce good that over the past 10 years has increased drastically, and it's not being expanded, such as fiat currencies, for example, you need just an amount of actual demand and you have a scarce limit resource. Therefore, the potential to Bitcoin for grow more in the future is there. Very similar to gold, but obviously with a few digital twists. And based out of that scarcity and that potential to increase in value, you also have the possibility with Bitcoin to save your business from inflation. I'm not talking about a yearly inflation hedge where you basically have, let's say, 6% inflation with your fiat currency and you want something that outperforms this, maybe even a little bit more, just to make sure that you're always operating at a profit. That is, at the current time of recording this video with Bitcoin, very unlikely because it's still very volatile. However, what you can do is, if you exchange extended reserves on your balance sheet, let's say you had commodities, maybe you had some treasuries, maybe you even had other stocks to counteract inflation with Bitcoin, which has had the best performing returns in the last decade, at least measured to other indexes and single stocks, you actually protect yourselves against the future and against the devaluation of your money. Instead of holding cash on the balance sheet that just inflates away, you actually turn that into Bitcoin and you keep holding that for the long term. And speaking of the long term, you also have an innovation signal you're actually sending to other shareholders, company, part owners, or even the market itself, because Bitcoin is one of the most, if not the most breathtaking technology in the last decade as well. And if you get your business on board early with such technology, you are actually showing, hey, we are really taking this serious and we are looking towards the future. And potentially that can help and attract new business opportunities as well. And lastly, very importantly, you have independence and control, especially if you hold Bitcoin in self-custody. I will get into the key differences there in a second. You are actually controlling what you can do. In a business, you can also hold your Bitcoin quite securely. There are multiple ways. I'll explain this now as well. And you have the opportunity, if there is an urgency, to actually act. You're not depending on third parties, and you can definitely do with that currency or that protection however you please. And lastly, a little bonus, you obviously have a diversification. Instead of holding everything in treasuries, stocks, or maybe even ETFs, you can also expand that reserve on your balance sheet to Bitcoin. Again, attract more innovation signal from one end, and on the other hand, also have part of your business in the near future. So therefore, having more opportunities as well. But how does it get into actually owning Bitcoin? There are 3 possibilities for businesses to do this. Number 1 is to own Bitcoin outright in a self-custody wallet. I spoke about this before. And don't worry, you can have this in a multi-sig wallet, which is essentially a wallet where it's just not one signature and one private key, but you have multiple people involved, maybe a CFO, other management positions, or even an assistant or a right-hand hand for these positions to actually secure that wallet. Platforms such as Relai, and I know I might be biased here, offer services where business can actually onboard and also accumulate their Bitcoin through that service and immediately send it to such a secure wallet setup. Advantages here are you control what you do with your Bitcoin and you're not relying on third parties, because speaking of them, there are other 2 possibilities to also hold Bitcoin. One are spot Bitcoin ETFs, which, do track the underlying price of Bitcoin. However, again, you're relying on a third party. And depending where you are, some jurisdictions don't actually allow the exposure to spot Bitcoin ETFs in the US, but there are alternatives such as Bitcoin ETPs in Europe. Third option are so-called CFDs. That stands for contract for difference. And you could basically track the Bitcoin price and therefore also adjust your strategy accordingly. However, there you're fully dependent on actually a third party. And all you do is really track the price and not use the underlying advantages Bitcoin offers you. So in conclusion, yes, a company can hold Bitcoin, and considering how well it performed for publicly traded companies this year alone, it might as well be one of the better business strategies these companies did and future companies can do as well. But what do you think? Is this just a hype or is there serious demand for this? Let me know with a comment below the video. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.